Dearest, in this video, I'm going to talk about very important topics, which is important for the biology as well as for knowing female reproductive system as well. So, in this video, I'm going to talk about menstrual cycles and what are the hormones which control the menstrual cycles, and also the question has been asked in lots of exam related with the menstrual cycle. So, what is menstruation? Menstruation is a monthly shedding of the lining of uterus, which I'm going to talk in for just after two slides in the detail. So, it is the first sign of puberty in the female. So, you know that the puberty is basically a signal which tells that the female and male are now becoming sexually mature, which start in female little early from year um, 11, and in the male it start from around 14 years. So this is the menstruation basically tells you that now female is being sexually mature, so that she can hold the pregnancy no, after certain years. So in this period, the blood flow out is called menstrual blood. And what is in this blood? It is partially the blood and partially the tissue from inside of the uterus. This cycle goes around 28 days, which is basically a part of female reproductive systems, and it prepares the body for possible pregnancy. So let's talk about overview first menstruation, then I will discuss in detail. It is driven by certain hormones. What is hormones? We all know it's a chemical messengers in the body. These hormones causes the lining of uterus to be thickened. This is the female reproductive system where this is the ovary where eggs are made, and in each month one eggs are fully developed. You know, eggs are developed already when the female is in the womb itself, but some of them is but mostly they are in inactive forms. Once the puberty happen, then each egg develop in each ovary one by one in every month. So this is the ovary, this is the vagina, and this is the part of uterus. So this lining I'm talking, it will set off. So what is happening basically? The eggs are released from the ovary. It travel to the fallopian tube, which is here, and when the sperms transfers and travel to the vagina, cervix, and coming to the fallopian tubes, where fertilization happen. So this menstrual cycle prepares this whole body of reproductive system for the female for the pregnancy to occur. So if pregnancy is not happening, what will happen? This all the preparation, whatever happening for the fetus development, basically after fertilization, this egg will implant here. It will grow further in the womb, in the baby. So if pregnancy is not happening, then this uterus lining is going to shed off, and this happen every month. So every month, this is the nature's how prepare the female body. So, if the fertilization does not happen, the lining of uterus break down and sets, and this is called period or menstruation. So, it's absolutely normal in the female. If it is not happening after age of 11, 8 to 11 year, then it's a problem. Okay. So in menstrual cycle, there are four stages which I'm going to talk in a bit detail. So they are first stage called menstruation, followed by follicular phase, then ovulation, and last stage is called luteal phase. So I'm going to talk about each phase in detail. So here are some points about natural variation. So usually the cycles occurs from around 28 days. But sometimes, due to the condition, because I told you this is regulated by hormones. Hormones can go up and down by certain condition of the body. For example, stress, tiredness, illness, unbalanced diet. So in this condition, the hormone can change, and this can cause the natural variation in the cycles. So it can last, from 21 to 30, 33 days, which is also a natural, because we have not inserted anything out from the body. It is naturally our body is prepared like that. There is one word called menopause. Menopause basically a stage of the female when the female ages around 45 to 55 age. Naturally, the ovaries will stop releasing the eggs, and slowly, slowly, menstrual cycle will stop. So I'm going to talk about further in a bit detail about all this process just now what we have discussed. That what we are looking that happening in menstrual cycle, it is basically start from the ovary. So ovary, this is called ovarian cycle. So all the preparation start from ovary. So as I told you, in ovary eggs are developed. So these are surrounded by the follicle cells, and out of some of the follicle cells, one develop into the egg, and which is further going to form ovulate, and it will continue for the cycle. So this process I'm going to talk in a bit detail. So let's see the ovarian cycle in a bit detail in this way. And this I put purposely so that if a student want to write something from this presentation, they can write it down. So what is the first stage? The primary follicles. So these are the basically follicles. So there are lots of follicles surrounding this egg. Okay, so young follicles are primary follicles. Each primary follicles consist of potentially egg surrounded by a layer of smaller cells known as follicle cells. As you can see here, there is one egg and there are multiple follicle cells, right? So these are called primary follicles. Done. Now next stage, what happened? This is second stage which is called Graafian follicles. A primary follicles may develop into the graphical follicles. So there are certain condition is going to change because the egg what is inside that there are changes happening it, and there is some need to support during the development during ovulation. So slowly this follicle start changing into different forms. So second form is called Graafian follicles. In this form, what happened, as we can see here, that egg is surrounded by the follicle cells and also fluid filled space. Okay, usually one egg is released every month, which I already discussed with you, and ovary take a turn. So, one side, one left ovary, then next right ovary, like that, and it releases an egg. The third stage, or what is happening in the ovary, is called ovulation, which happen um, at day of 40. Okay, after 28-day cycles. In this, what happened? The Graafian follicles ruptures and releases egg into the oviduct through the funnel-like opening, as you can see here. The release of the egg from ovary is called ovulation. So, ovary, this egg is released, and this is called ovulation, which happened at 14 days of the menstrual cycle. Now, what happened to this particle, this follicles which is remaining now? So, this convert into the corpus luteum. Okay, after ovulation, the Graafian follicle develop into the corpus luteum. Corpus luteum, what is the purpose then? It is going to just die. Okay, so corpus luteum first prepare the body through the pregnancy, because now ovulation has happened, so that ovum is going to be fertilized. So further, whatever happening in the ovary, they release certain kind of hormones which prepare the body for the pregnancy. So if fertilization is not happening, then corpus luteum breaks down and persists for some time, and then usually breaks down, and then slowly all the processes start again from the menstruation. So basically, if you look this whole process, which happen by the basically two hormones released from our body. First is involved our brain, which anterior pituitary, which secrete the two hormone, follicular stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone. So the two body are involved in this process. First anterior pituitary, second ovaries. So in the pituitary gland, follicular stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone, the two hormones are secreted, and in ovaries, there are two hormones secreted, estrogen and progesterone, which are secreted by those follicles. Just now I finished discussing. I'm going to talk about all these hormones in bit detail. So just be with me and let's see what happening overall. So stage day 1 to day 5, which is called menstrual flow stage, which just now we have gone through it. Here the menstruation begins. As you can see here, at the point first, that at this stage what happens, pituitary gland, which is in our brain, secrete the follicular stimulating hormones. So as the name suggests, follicle stimulating hormone, right? It means it is stimulating follicle to develop, to work on it, right? So this will work on the follicle which is in the ovary. So, and it also goes step by step, so that follicle will develop into the Graafian follicles. It also stimulate to secrete estrogens. What is estrogen? Estrogen is very important hormone which causes the uterine lining to thicken, and further this step help that if it is too much FSH, just inhibit this process, so no longer more follicle will develop because it is going further towards the ovulation to towards the develop mature egg. So high level estrogen stimulate the pituitary gland to secrete the LH, which is the highest high amount at day 14, which cause the ovulation. So luteinizing hormone, which is LH, causes the ovulation. The luteinizing hormone causes the formation of corpus luteum. This luteum further secretes progesterone and some of the estrogens. So whatever I'm saying to you, you can make a note of it because further when I talk to graph, it all going to come again. Now after this, since egg is already released, now either the egg will fertilize, so the body need to be prepared for the fertilization. It means now we have to work on the uterus lining. So which will start from the days 15 to 18, which happen by the secretion of the progesterone with by the corpus luteum. So corpus luteum secretes some of the progesterone which stimulate the uterine lining, thicken and become supplied with the blood. Now, progesterone also inhibit ovulation because ovulation is done. Now we are moving further and FSH. So this is how each hormone work here, as you can see here. So now let's talk about overall what hormone involved in this menstrual cycle. So what we have discussed, again let's summarize it. I know this topic is little bit detailed. That's why I'm going multiple down with different diagrams. So what we talk about first in ovarian cycle, that there are different follicles which have the eggs which are developing. So this is the primary follicles, then secondary follicles, developed Graafian follicles, ovulation, and then corpus luteum. Now there are two glands are working, anterior pituitary gland and the ovary. So these together work and help in the menstrual cycle progression. So in menstruation, what happened? Only after menstruation, when the blood flows, menstrual blood go out, again ovary prepare the follicles and then with help of follicular stimulating hormones. So basically, if you look, this is a very important graph. You can take a note of it. So here, what happened at the start? So this is the start from 0 to 5. Uh, slowly, the estrogen levels, as you can see here, will increase in the follicular phase, and at this stage, which is called 14 stage, our luteinizing hormone is the highest, which causes the ovulation to happen. And the corpus luteum, which is developing here, it peaks the secretion of the progesterone, and it is at highest peak at around a stage of 15 to 18. So this graph is also very important. Now, let's summarize the feedback loop in menstrual cycle. So, what are the different hormones we have just looked out? It is all together to summarize the whole topic related with the hormones. So, these are the two hormones which just now I talked to you. FSH, which stimulate the follicular growth in ovaries, which also stimulate estrogen secretion from developing follicles. There's luteinizing hormone, which basically cause ovulation. Estrogens, which thicken the uterine lining, which is also called endometrium, and inhibit the FSH and LH for most of the cycles. The progesterone thickens the uterine lining endometrium and inhibit the FSH and LH. So these are the graph which I have discussed just now with you, that look during the first 5 days, the during menstruation basically FSH now going to be increased slowly, so it will work on follicles which releases the estrogen. Now estrogens work on the endometrium lining which is going to be repaired now. Then interior ovary and the ovarian cycles, the corpus luteum is going to work, which causes the progesterone lining to be progesterone secretion to be a large. At 14 stage, the luteinizing hormone, which is secreted by pituitary gland, is going to be a very high, which causes the ovulation. So, what are the feedback loop? This is the feedback loop which just now we discussed. That look, anterior pituitary gland secrete FSH, which is follicular stimulating hormone, which work on growing follicles. Now, this follicle secrete estrogens, which If it is high in level, it inhibits the follicular stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone, which is secreted most of the cycles. So it will inhibit this process. Now, estrogen levels also stimulates the LH and FSH secretion at day 13 to day 15. Now, growing follicles also developing into ovulation, which is happening in ovary. Here, the corpus luteum develop, which secretes some progesterone and some estrogens, which again inhibit that. Okay, now I am going to prepare pregnancy, the body. So, start decreasing the hormones which are involved in follicle development as well as the ovulation. So, this is a feedback loop, and you can make a note of it. Now let's talk about some of the questions. So question first is talking to you that which graph show the four hormones that control menstrual cycle. So here is the graph where the four cycles hormones are involved. Just now I talked to you: estrogen, progesterone, luteinizing hormone, and follicular stimulating hormone. There are four hormones which are involved in this process. So they are asking you that which curve of the graph represent the hormone estrogen. So which is estrogen? Well, estrogen, you can find it out very easily that it will start increasing from the after the menstruation stage. So as you can see here that the curve, so let's talk about here the point graph A. Here a student get confused about they are talking about the same hormone um, in this option also, like do you think A is estrogen, B is also estrogen. So we don't need to think that A will be estrogen or B will be estrogen. We have to, there are four different hormones, okay? Based on our graph, what we have learned, we can clarify each of them. Like LH will be at point number C because that is highest at around 2 weeks, which is ovulation, correct? That is very clear. Now B, as you can see here, it is high after menstruation, so it should be your estrogen, right? Now, A is a follicular stimulating hormone, which is active in this 0 to 5 stage also, and it is also activate at this, after ovulation because it is preparing the follicles also to secrete other hormones. So, FSS graph look like this, it will become small peaks at 11 to 14. And the D is definitely, there is no doubt about this is your progesterone because it is going to be highest after 21 to 28 days because it need to maintain the uterine lining. Very, very important, all these hormones. Now let's see what option we have. So option A is high level for ovulation, estrogen, progesterone. So C and D itself gone because they are talking about it is high level at ovulation, so it is not possible. Now what other option we have? High level needed for development for more ova. So is it required estrogens? No, estrogen we don't require. Do we require progesterone? These two are only possibility. Now these two will clarify your all doubt that maintains the uterus lining. So maintenance part is done by progesterone and repair part is done by the estrogens. So option number A, fitting correctly with all the options what is here. Because these two just now we have discussed in the feedback loop, so you can go back to the previous slide and look the feedback loop that if you have estrogen very high amount, then it stimulate LH which cause the ovulation. So if the progesterone is high level, it inhibit the FSH secretion so that there is no more ova will develop. So you can watch this and in the previous slide as well. Now let's come to the next question. The next question is talking to you about these graph A, B, C, D. So what question they're asking you? The menstrual cycle is controlled by hormones, estrogen and progesterone. Okay, so some part is cannot see here. So this is your estrogen and progesterone. The concentration of these hormones in blood changes during menstrual cycle. Yes. Which graph shows the changes in concentration of these two hormones in the blood during day 10 to 18? So remember, they are talking about only two graphs, two hormones, the estrogen and progesterone. So Here, as you can see here, can it will be your A graph? So in A, what is happening? The estrogen is so these are the two graph like dot is what is your dot. So as you can see here, there are two hormones, estrogen and progesterone. So they are saying you that one graph is at the peak, which is at around it looks around 14. No, it cannot be 14. It's around 16. And so how to solve such question? As we know that progesterone graph looks like slowly it go and it increase at the last stage, like this graph. So you should always fix this graph in your mind that progesterone will be start increasing this where estrogen is just going to be finished. So then in that circumstances your B and C is completely gone from the picture because nothing is matching here. Right. Now we have to think about either A or D. So in A, what is happening? One is increasing, and then decreasing. That is not possible if you're talking about either progesterone or you're talking about estrogen, which is not possible at all at 18 stage. So this option is also gone. Now we need to think option D. That here, as you can see here, this is 10 day stage. So 10 days stage is around we are in this place. So here the estrogen, yes, it is increasing, and progesterone will start increasing from day 15 to 18 onwards. So you will start seeing the start increasing in the progesterone. So this is the progesterone, and this is the estrogen. So graph D is the complete and correct answer. So whenever graph question comes, you always try to understand, figure out this graph in your mind. It will clarify your all the dot when you talk about progesterone and estrogens. So next, let's see next question. So here they're talking about. So this question looks not complete. Um, so what this question telling you? The question tells that the graph below show the concentration of progesterone in the blood of the female during 28 of menstruation. So basically, here this is one hormone we are talking. Which graph show the change in concentration of progesterone if implantation occurs? So if implantation occurred, it is going to continue till the pregnancy. So then option A is gone, option B is gone. Now remaining your D or C. Now look the graph. Ovulation is here and why progesterone will be here? It's not because after ovulation progesterone start increasing. So option number C is the only correct option, which you can always mind map of this graph that look after ovulation, which is LH, the progesterone start increasing. So that is not possible. Now let's see next question. The diagram shows the variation in thickness of uterine lining of the female over 28 days. Which point best represent the fertile period? What is fertile period? Fertile period is a period in which the chances of pregnancy is a lot. It means when ovulation happen, the egg can survive for one. So in during 1 to 2 days, if fertilization is happening, then the pregnancy can occurs. So it means we are talking about ovulation stage, which is nothing but here, as you can see here, your 14 days, which is the option number C. Now let's see the question number 28. The diagram show the relationship between the estrogen and progesterone in the blood for female for a period of times. So this graph, again, you can relate this is your estrogen and this is the progesterone. So at X and Y, this is the menstruation stage because after this stage, estrogen start increasing. So option A or B. Now they are talking about what is happening at Y. So this Y looks a middle first of all, and after this progesterone start increasing, so it is your ovulation. So option number A is the correct option. So here we have finished menstrual cycle and also later with the question later with the menstrual cycle. I hope you enjoy this video. Let me know in comment section if you have a doubt related with that. And finally, thanks for watching and hope happy womanhood. Thank you.